Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Jacob back here with Commerce Connects.
And Hannah.
Today, we have a really cool guest. Most of y'all probably know their page, know of him. His name's Landon, owner, founder of Wichita Life. Landon, kind of go into what is Wichita Life?
Yeah, for sure. We just exist basically to highlight what's cool, what's special about Wichita. So that's places, people, events. We kind of want to be the one-stop shop, the go-to source for what's happening in Wichita, whether that's on the social media pages, our email newsletter, our podcast, where we can kind of go deeper with people. It started out, I grew up around here. It started out as just an Instagram page. Once my wife and I moved back from Corpus Christi, Texas for my real job, my engineering job. But most of my friends had all moved away to like cooler cities like Kansas City or San Francisco, Denver, Dallas, whatever, anywhere but here pretty much. And so just started highlighting that, and then it kind of just snowballed into what it is today, which is 40-ish thousand followers on Instagram, 18,000 on our email, and some more on the other socials. But yeah, it's kind of the main stuff.
Okay. So you and I talked a little bit off cam. Go in about so you got started as a faceless Instagram. And that's one thing that you see a lot right now on YouTube specifically is the faceless YouTube channels. Kind of go in what's the pros and cons of that?
Yeah, for sure. So we started this, again, I had no business aspirations for this. It was really okay, maybe if it grows big enough and I have an idea, I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial itch, I could maybe use that audience to launch something, but it was I had no point of view for monetizing that or doing anything like that. For the first year and a half or 2 years, almost 2 years, we never posted once who we were. If you knew who it was, you might know, but we didn't even tell our friends. I didn't even tell Candace until we were 5,000 followers. And then, so it got big enough. And then one day, it was towards the end of the year, and I was like, I think we should just say who we are. I think it's gotten to a point, I think we were maybe 10, 12,000 followers on Instagram. And again, nobody knew who we were.
I didn't even know. I've heard of the Wichita Life page. I had no clue who. I was like, who does this? That's good.
I remember telling some of our best friends, we went to get some ice cream, and we told them, are you kidding? We followed that. Why didn't you tell us this? So I guess the pros of being faceless is our goal wasn't to make it about us. And so it makes it really easy to not make it about you. You just focus on the content, focus on our city and the people that we're highlighting. But I think the con is that it can be harder for people to connect to that. Yeah. And so when we did that, we had an outpouring of people who are like, I thought this was a 70-year-old guy in the basement or whatever. But they're like, this is so cool. One, it's a younger couple that's experienced the city and showing you don't have to move away to experience something cool in our city. And especially as a 25-year-old couple. And so I think that's a big pro. But I think I just really personally, the accounts that I follow, I like to be able to know who's behind it. And so even a lot of there's a huge kind of explosion of foodies, foodie accounts in Wichita, and a lot of those are faceless. But it's I've met the people behind them, and it's so cool to know who's behind that.
Yeah.
So when you can put yourself out there a little bit, it makes it easier to connect. But for us, it's I still don't want it to be all about us. We just did a video the other day, and it's cool to put my face out there because it's people that know us or people that didn't know who it was can connect. But we don't have to. We do it few and far between. And some people, their pages, it's them. It's a personality. Hannah, your face is front and center, which is awesome. But it's that's not what our page was from the beginning, and it's not really what it is today. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Go in on, or do you got some?
No, go ahead.
No? Okay. So with the whole, foodies, talk about some of your favorite ones of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, OG's, Wichita by EB. He's been around for, I think he posted the other day, 13 years of blogging.
That's wild.
Wow.
Wild, yeah, which is awesome. And then Fert the Foodie, I think he was one of the, a few years after Eddie started, but it's so cool to, meet those guys. At a random food event, they're like, oh, I run this account. I'm like, I had no idea. And just finally figuring that out. But
the first time I met Eddie, it was like that. He came up to me at Taco Fest, was. And he was like, what's up, how you doing? And I was like, who are you?
Right.
Just trying to feel him out. And then he was like, oh, I'm Eddie, I'm EB. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, I wouldn't have not guessed this to be him. Right. And then, slowly but surely, meeting all these other foodies, Wichita Taco. Yeah, meeting all them. I'm just like, okay, cool. I think it's really cool, like you said, to start putting those faces to their names.
Yeah. Well, and it's cool to see, everyone kind of has their own take on that. So, EB... he's doing more voiceover stuff now on some of his reels and stuff, and taking to the next level with drone footage and that kind of stuff. Fert mainly does static posts, static pictures with a little write up on the food. Jack Stacks, Chris is killing it.
Dude, yeah.
He's going viral. Everyone loves this stuff.
Yeah. He was just in here yesterday. He'd be posted up at the Comics Club. Love that guy.
That's awesome. Yeah. Candace is always like, amen, let's dig in. So it's awesome. Live Local, Troy.
Yep.
I love like the series that him and Darren do. Like it's so cool. Like try all the cheese pizza at all the pizza places or whatever that is. So, but then there's some people. It's like I've barely met them, but it's like there's like these a little bit smaller one, maybe like micro or however you want to say that. But I mean, they all have their own kind of take on how to post and how they like to approach it, which is really cool.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like to me, it's food. Like I'm like thinking about going in and shooting the content. It's like I can only think of a handful of ways, but then you do see some of these people where it's like it's really creative. And another local guy that I've never met that you work with quite often, the Velo Ace.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that content is amazing.
Yeah.
Like I started initially, I saw of course like the Garvey Center one, and I was like, wait, this is about Wichita. And then I saw like the one about the structure fire that killed however many firefighters. I was like, yo, this content is really good.
Right. I was like, how do you even find this stuff? Yeah. Like literally, like I don't know where you find it. Like
Deep
it's
dive.
not even like it's not on the Wikipedia page.
Right?
Like I'm learning a lot, and I feel like I know a decent amount about Wichita.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I love seeing like those types of creators coming out of Wichita because it's very unique. It's very local based, and it just shows out like, hey, Wichita's actually a cool city. And it allows like, I mean, like the Velo Ace videos, like I've seen a lot of his go pretty viral.
Yeah, like actually viral. Yeah, I think it's cool to see like when people find kind of like their lane. So again, like Chris Jack Stacks, like he kind of has the same format, but it's awesome. Like it's very specific. The Velo Ace guy is like, he's going to do drone footage. He's going to like show everything about the building. And then he's going to give you a 30, 60-second history lesson. Like I love when people kind of find that format and then just kind of reproduce it for 100 different times.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because then it's branded towards them. Like you don't even have to see the name or anything. You just either hear it, see and be like, oh, that's that person. So it kind of gets branded. And kind of the same with like the Wichita Life. You kind of, see what you guys, and you're like, oh, that's a Wichita Life piece.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. We've definitely seen that, which I mean, I get a lot of inspiration from like other local pages.
Yeah.
So like whether it's like an Omaha page or I have a friend that runs a similar Wichita Life idea up in Annapolis, or like there's one in Dublin that I follow. And it's like the format that I use for like the new in Wichita, like I borrowed that from this guy in Dublin that I've obviously never met him. I think I DM'd him actually a couple times, but like they're all like, oh yeah, go ahead, make it your own. And like, this is awesome. Do it for your city. So it's really cool. Yeah.
Was that the kind of inspiration to start essentially the page, was seeing stuff like that? Or did you follow these people before or just after?
Starting my page, I mean, I didn't even really use Instagram. Like,
I
didn't really use Instagram. And so I think it was just, that was probably the easiest way. I think most of my friends were on Instagram. So this is 2017.
Yeah.
So Instagram was pretty hot back then. I mean, it's still pretty hot right now, but like the image, I feel like the images were easy to like capture. And a lot of the stuff was like, I was taking some of my content, but a lot of it was just like reposting content from other people. And like people love it. It's like early on, they don't really care because don't really have a following.
Yeah.
But then as you get bigger, it's like, okay, they're happy because they just got posted on a 20,000 follower page or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so it's really cool. And now there's like all the collaboration posts and stuff. So that makes it easy.
Yo, real quick, I just want to pause this podcast real quick and talk to you guys about Commerce Connects Live. It's going to be a networking event here at the Commerce Club on Wednesday, March 27th. Hannah, tell us who's all going to be there.
Yeah, so Landon from Wichita Life, who is with us right now, is going to be at the event, as well as Taylor Rains, who was on our previous episode. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have the Q&A, be here at the Commerce Club and networking, like you said, and enjoying the space and getting to talk with us as well.
All right, so hope to see you guys Wednesday, March 27th. And hope you guys enjoy the rest of this podcast. So you've been on Instagram for a while. Talk about like the evolution, like seeing it from where Instagram's strictly photos to now they're allowing video to now almost reels are more like you can reach more people with the reels.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's honestly kind of hard to stay up on top of whatever the trends are. Like it's like, for a long time it was just pictures, and then it was like, I'm sure you could do it originally, but it's like the carousels kind of had their moment. And then like I used to post like full podcast episodes on it because they had like, I can't remember what they called it. It was before Reels, but there was a separate app for like IG videos.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And so like I was posting like my full 30, 60-minute episodes. It's like nobody really listens to the whole thing, but it's there in case easy access. But
Wasn't it IGTV?
IGTV, yeah, exactly. And then whatever, a year later, they're like, all right, screw that. We're going to roll everything into Reels. And then now it's like everyone, YouTube Shorts, IG is trying to keep up with TikTok. So like they're really pushing that. But then it's like it's kind of come back around because now like carousels still do really well.
Yeah.
Because each swipe counts as an interaction versus like just a like or whatever. I'm sure it's weighted, but like it's just interesting to see. It's like it's cyclical, but things are always changing. So.
Yeah, and that's like with TikTok specifically right now that I really hope Instagram integrates is when you upload a horizontal video to TikTok, now it says at the bottom like view full screen and it'll rotate it for you. And that's one thing, I mean, being like a cinematographer at heart, vertical content's cool. Right. But I love doing like, a lot, like the horizontal content's like my favorite. Yeah. And I mean, we just did it the other day with our podcast. We had a really good clip, but it was like 5 minutes long. And I didn't want to do vertical cut of it. I really wanted to see how well a horizontal clip would perform. Yeah. And I was like, man, I really wish it would rotate when we uploaded.
Right. Yeah. Makes it interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I would rather like not shoot that type of style, but I guess that's the best. That's the most swipeable.
Yeah. I mean, it takes up to, I mean, it uses the full real estate.
Yeah. Without having to turn your phone. I mean, when we had our Wichita Life party last year, we were on the IMA rooftop, and that was a conversation we had with the videographer. He's like, do you want vertical or do you want horizontal? Because can I really only shoot one well? And so I was like, I mean, it's probably just mainly, most of the views are going to be on Instagram, so I guess vertical. But so. Yeah, that's. I think we ended up doing horizontal because I post on YouTube and stuff, and like I want to see the whole because he had some drone shots coming in on the rooftop and everything. But it's like, it kind of I don't know. There's pros and cons to all of it.
Yeah, that's the hardest part. Like when I'm going to a client about it, like
it's like, what do you want?
Yeah, vertical? Like where are we? Are we doing it on the website? Are we doing it? But nowadays, even websites are mainly viewed on the phone. Right. And so it's like making it compatible. And so I found a couple different ways with the cameras. You can put guides on there. So where it's like it works, like you can see what's going to be in frame. But it's like if you're framed for vertical perfectly, it's like a little bit wider on the horizontal. Right. But it's a little weird, I definitely think that that's one thing. Like I'm starting to see a push come back towards is the horizontal.
Yeah, no, it is. I think it changes like any trend. It's going to go, one way for a little bit, the other way for a little bit. Really just depends on what the social media platforms want to push because we kind of we do what they want us to do in a sense.
Right. Yeah. So. Kind of gotta feed the algorithm.
Exactly. Unfortunately that's just the way it works. If you want to be successful online, you have to follow the algorithm,
which is super interesting. Like a kind of shifting on that, but like we'll do a lot of giveaways with local businesses or nonprofits or whatever, and something I've noticed is like sometimes it just bombs, and they're like, okay, what's going on? And I'm like, okay, well the image we used had like too much text on it or something. Yeah. And it's like the reason I guess I recognize that was I used to run some like Facebook ads for people and like they won't let you post an image as an ad if it has more than like I can't remember like 30% text on the image and it like kind of measures it out. And so it's like, okay, so if that's the case for the ads, then they're probably just gonna like throttle just a regular post as well, kind of based on the same thing. So then this just happened this last week. Like we did a giveaway with like the jazz festival that's coming up. And like the first one, like literally had 2 comments. I'm like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then the next one is like, I put a couple videos, I made like a carousel rather than one image with a bunch of text. And like, there's hundreds of comments. Yeah. And so it's so interesting, like playing that or like, I don't know if it matters as much anymore, but when the collaboration feature first came out, it was like, it mattered who posted. Who posted. It might still, I think it's a little bit more even, but it's like, if somebody else is like, hey, we'll just invite you to collab, I'm like, let me post it and I'll invite you to collab because it's going to do way better.
You're going to get the most reach if the bigger page will post it because it'll go. It
seems like it's leveled out a little bit.
Yeah, I
like
think
originally it was definitely like
it was a thing, right? Yeah, right when it started, it's like the bigger account needed to post it so it could reach everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely one thing that we noticed, especially with like festive ICT stuff like that, where it's like, I mean, if we're having someone like yourself do it, it's like, hey, Landon, can you please post this?
Which it's like, it's nice for me when you guys can just send it. All I have to do is hit go instead of like copy the caption, tweak the caption, post the video, which isn't a big deal, but it's like when it's one button, it's so nice.
Oh yeah, it's so much easier and more convenient. And I think I like the collaborations that they have on there. You can do it on photos, videos. Cool. Yeah, it makes it a lot easier. And then you are able to like, do stuff with other creators and other, accounts. And I think it makes it fun and cool.
Mm-hmm. So we asked Taylor this last week, but how important do you think social media is for like smaller businesses?
I think it's super important because you can pay, but you don't have to pay, right? You can just post and I used to watch a lot of Gary Vee. I kind of stopped because he says the same thing over and over again. Yeah. But one thing that stuck was like document, don't create. And I think if you're a small business, like that's the most low-hanging fruit, best low-hanging fruit you could go with. Like literally just shoot a few clips throughout the day and you have content for a week.
Exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good. It's for sure.
That's like the big thing that like I see even socials nowadays moving back towards, because I mean, for the past year and a half, it's been like the hyper edited, super fast cut stuff, and it's like, yo, our attention spans are getting shot by this.
Yes.
And now you see more, even like on the YouTube side of things, you see more of the long form vlog style content coming, and then now it's bleeding back into socials. Yeah, I mean, because people nowadays, it's like they just want to learn. I mean, they just want to sit there and be entertained or informed.
Right, for sure.
So,
it's interesting how that's cyclical too, because it's like I remember 2016, I binge watched all hundreds and then kept up with the Casey Neistat vlogs.
Yeah,
and then he kind of retired from that, and then it kind of was like. People call it like the Mr. Beastification, but it was like, very quick, like hyper. Everyone's yelling, why is it so fast? And then now even he is like telling more longer form stories in his videos. Like I don't watch a ton of his stuff, but like I've listened to interviews with him, how he approaches it. He's like, we're just working on the storytelling now versus just such quick editing. Like we have the audience now, we can actually work on the storytelling.
Did you see the news interview he just did?
I'm not sure.
It was with the Colin and Noir again, but they just did one last week. And he just announced, and the one before he talked about how he's working with the network.
Oh yeah,
he just announced,
Prime,
it's Prime.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, we're having the biggest game show with the most contestants, biggest prize, and I'm like, good. Like, and they were like, how are you going to end each episode? He's like, I mean, we're gonna not really end it. Like it's gonna be
going to the next one.
It's gonna keep going on.
It's just gonna be like you're gonna end it halfway through a challenge, and like, well, what do you think about retention on that? He's like, well. Obviously, it's going to help retain more. I mean, think about your favorite TV shows. They always do the to be continued thing.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, I want to watch next week, whatever.
So I'm excited for it. Like, okay, I'm Mr. Beast though. What do you think about the whole? Is he from Wichita? Is he not? Like, how do you feel on that?
So I didn't even know about that until like a couple weeks ago. Somebody was like, "Hey, did you know Mr.?" I'm like, "No, he's not." Yeah. What do you mean? And then I looked up. Oh, he was born in Wichita.
Yeah.
So
my nephew told me that he's like 8, and he was like, "Mr. Beast was born here." And I'm like, "No, he's not." And then he definitely was. And I was like, "That's crazy."
So I think it was like I think his parents were in the Air Force.
And he didn't grow up here, right?
Right, he didn't grow up here. But like, hey, it counts.
Hey, I'll take it.
I think it's so funny though because people are always like, he needs to be given back to his hometown, this, that, the third. And I'm like. I mean, if he was here for 6 months,
he doesn't owe us anything. But if he wants to come on the Wichita Life podcast,
then
there
you're
we go.
welcome.
I'm counting it.
Exactly. But yeah, no, he was back here maybe last summer and was like at the mall, and it caused an outrage. I remember that's how I found out. My nephew was like, "Mr. Beast was at the mall," and I'm like. Why would he be in Wichita? And he's like, he was born here.
Crazy,
I think it was like last summer or something like that. It was crazy.
I remember it going viral on Facebook. Everyone was talking about it. And then he was in a small town. I think it was Leon or something of that sort. But there was like, they did a video where they were like crushing a Lamborghini and like a big car crusher. And they're like, Mr. Beast is in Kansas, da da da. And I'm like, okay, but like, he's not like it's cool. Like I'm glad, but
it's random.
But
it is pretty cool. But I always think of like if they're born here, if they're from here. Like there's a lot of. I mean, I think she actually lived here for a while. But like Joanna Gaines.
Oh yeah.
Like Chip and Joanna or whatever. I don't remember what their stuff's called. Magnolia Farms and like whatever the TV shows they have are. Fixer Upper. There we go.
Yeah.
Fixer Upper. But she was from here. I'm like. Got to get her on the podcast. It's like there's some pretty big names, and then obviously like Barry Sanders and stuff are like actually claim Wichita.
Yeah, like claim like this is my hometown.
Well, that's my thing. Was like, like if you're here for a certain amount of time, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Is like it's like you don't have to be from here to claim it as your hometown.
Yeah.
That's how I've always seen it. It's like, I mean, if you've came here and this is where you've grown up, or this is like what's formed you into whatever it is, like cool, you can claim it as your home.
Right.
But.
It's like, cool. That's a fun. It's like a fun fact.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
I really didn't know that. Yeah, it's like how did I not know this till just now?
I thought at first it was gonna be like, oh, his mom was like pregnant on an airplane, and then like
flew over Wichita.
Like I thought that was about to be the story of it, and then I was like, okay,
that's really funny. So I was watching a YouTube video yesterday, Casey Neistat video actually, but it's interesting talking about. I hadn't really thought about this together, but so like traditionally it'd be like whatever, like movies in theaters, like. Movies on streaming, maybe YouTube, like the way people view it as far as like a hierarchy. But it's like Mr. Beast is up to like the streaming level now. Yeah. Like one of the biggest streaming platforms on Amazon Prime. And the video I was watching was talking about how the new Roadhouse movie with Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor, like the remake, the director made it with, they promised him it would be in the theaters, but then they basically said, nah, Amazon, like halfway through making it or whatever, bought the studio. So anyways, they're only releasing it on streaming. But it's like, that's like a Hollywood blockbuster level film. It's like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I didn't even
But
know
it's
that.
like, now like, they're like the same level now. They're all on Amazon. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. And like, Mr. Beast is going to get how many times more hours of viewership off of a 6 or 8 hour series versus a 2 hour movie. But it's interesting to think about, like, everything's kind of leveling out. Like,
It is, the streaming. Because I remember when, like, was it Netflix where you had to, like, get the DVDs in the mail?
Oh, yeah.
And now it's, like, one of the biggest, like, platforms. And then streaming, you know, it's, I mean, a lot of more people are watching streams and going into the movie theaters.
Right,
like,
exactly.
it's crazy how, like, $1 million projects like that are just going to be streamed.
Well, that was
and we
like
don't have to leave.
Dune 2 just came out.
Oh, yeah.
Like the first Dune, like the director was worried that they'd even be able to make Dune 2 because they released it on HBO Max and theaters at the same time. It was in COVID.
Oh,
but like, he was worried, like, if we don't make our money, then you're not going to greenlight
another
part
one.
2.
Yeah.
And so, but it ended up working out. And then he made them promise, I have 45 days in theaters before you can put it on streaming. But even, I mean, that's like one of the biggest blockbusters of the last 10 years. And it went straight to streaming.
That's crazy, like, seeing the impact that even has, like, on the actors. Like, how they had to change the pay scale. Because I had a buddy that was co-starring with Mark Wahlberg in a movie called Good Joe Bell. I think they shortened it to Joe Bell. But it was supposed to come out in box office, COVID hits, and so they pushed it back, like, a year because they were trying to wait on COVID.
Yep.
And then they were like, all right, cool, let's just do it in streaming. It was so hyped for the box offices, it didn't really do well streaming.
Right.
And he made a percentage of what they were predicting him to make.
I think Scarlett Johansson sued Disney or Marvel because of that. Because it was like her movie, the Black Widow movie, went straight to streaming, and she was guaranteed like 2 or 5% of the box office. I'm like, there is no box office now. So you just get completely screwed.
Yeah, and that's kind of how he was, because he was just like, he was talking to us about all these, because he is a director himself for some of his other small projects, and he was like, cool, we're going to roll in. So once this hits box offices, we're going to take budget from this, allocate it to here. And we had some cool, like, short films planned out there. And then, they completely wiped it. And I was like, okay.
I feel like that, like, is like how the algorithm is. You kind of don't know if it's a hit or miss. So, like, you know, if it's a box office one that you put to stream, it might do really well, or it might tank.
Yeah, you
like,
never know.
Yeah, you really don't know where the consumer is going to go. You can only try and follow the trend as much as possible.
Like, even like posting on socials, like, I kind of know what works now, right? It's like, if we do a new in Wichita post, it's going to hit. If we go to like a brand new place and make a little reel walking through, it's probably going to hit. Yeah. But sometimes you get surprised, and it's interesting. Have you seen that with your stuff?
Oh, yeah. I'll post something that I think is really cool, and it doesn't do as well. And then I'll post something so simple that I don't even think about, and it hits. And then I know what people want to see, and it always does well. So it's kind of like, you know, the main thing that people want to see. And then sometimes it just doesn't hit. I don't know.
Something I think is funny too is like, and I mean, I've done it, so I'm not going to poo-poo on anybody, but it's like the hiding the likes on Instagram and stuff. Like, I usually don't, because I mean, it could get 50 likes. I don't really care that much. But it's just interesting now because people may be afraid to take shots on goal then, right? Because it's like, I don't really care. I'll try whatever. Like, I can always delete the post if it's really that bad. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
See, I've found like a couple artists that I've worked with, like I've done collab posts with, and they're like, hide the likes. And
like, you didn't know I can go look at it and see them, right?
Yeah, I can click on it and still.
But sometimes, like, I've noticed, like, sometimes I do perform a little bit better. I don't know why.
Do you think there is a...
I don't know.
So there's a guy that I was talking to. He got one of those, like, Instagram growth guides or whatever. And he was just like, well, they said hide your likes until you hit 100 and then do it. And I was like, I mean, because, then there's a social proof because... But in my head... I'd rather support a post that has 3 likes. Yeah, that's how I am.
Also, if it's a really good post, it's gonna hit 100 pretty quick.
Yeah, so. It's gonna hit right away. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like stuff like that, Instagram doesn't care how many likes it has or whatever. So if you hide it, if you don't, I feel like with anything, if you just put, if you're just passionate about what you post and put out, who cares how many likes it has? If you hide it or not, it's cool.
The biggest thing I look at is like shares or saves.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the main thing.
If you're gonna get a lot of shares, it's gonna spread.
The interaction.
They are going to promote that more for you.
Yeah.
And plus, it's already getting shared with more people.
Yeah.
But like the new in Wichita type posts, like it's going to get shared. Like it's just going to, because people are like, oh, I want to go to this coffee shop. I want to go to this bar with you to their friends.
Well, and the engagement on the post is much more prevalent than the likes. Like if it has a lot of engagement by shares, comments, they're like Instagram pushes that more than if it's liked. I was in Kansas City this past weekend. Do you guys know the I am 40 guy on TikTok? He's like a basketball player and he's 40. He's like, I'm 40. It's like Ant1. He has like 1 million followers on like between both platforms. And he told me that he was like, it doesn't matter how many likes a post has, as long as you have comments and it's shared. That's the only thing that's the only thing that's gonna push. He was dropping some gems to me too, because he gets like he gets like 1 million views on TikTok almost every video.
Wow,
like he's
awesome.
big time, and he was like telling me all this like gold info, and I'm like, oh, this is great. Thank you for sharing with this.
Well, it's like everyone else is like so hidden, but like
Yeah.
I remember I'm on Twitter a lot, and so they were like when Elon bought it, whatever, they basically like released what the key is, like what makes it go viral, and it was like I can't remember the numbers, but it was like a like is worth like 1% of a comment or something. Yeah. So it's like it doesn't really matter. Yeah, again, how many likes? It's like the engagement is way more weighted, and I'm sure every other platform is the same.
Yeah.
But on the flip, did you see that they're starting to dock you if you're pushing in your caption? Supposedly, that if you're like drop a comment below, or I guess no, now I'm thinking about that's YouTube. You
can't link or something, right?
Yeah.
Like
if you're pushing it on YouTube and you're like, make sure you drop a comment below the stuff that they're gonna start docking you. Supposedly,
I wonder what the purpose of that is. Like, why did YouTube say one day, like, oh, we don't want that in the caption to drop a comment because it's driving engagement to YouTube.
Yeah.
So why don't they want that? I could see them not wanting that, but I'm like, why?
Yeah, I never understood it. I mean, especially with YouTube nowadays, it's so like. I mean, it's just like every other social platform where it's like you don't know what's going to pop. Right. Like YouTube, you used to be able to buy fake views and your account would blow up.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, cool. That is definitely not the way to go.
Right.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like all of the different platforms, which one is like your favorite in that you really kind of focus more on? Because I know you have TikTok, right?
That's like very last in mind.
And then Instagram, Threads,
Facebook,
Twitter,
Instagram,
Facebook,
pretty much everything.
YouTube. So out of all those, what are the main focuses for you and what, pushes the content more?
I pretty much always post with Instagram first in mind, and then like if it auto feeds to Facebook, or like I'll go just recreate the reel on Facebook. Because I think if you just make a reel on Instagram, it will share it to Facebook as discoverable, but like I'll typically go ahead and post it anyways without the watermarks and everything. And then I'll repost to wherever else. But honestly, non-social, but like email newsletters where I spend most of my time. And so like I'll try to drive people from those to that, which is kind of back to our previous point, is like Instagram's hard because you can't link a comment. But like some of the other ones are like on even like LinkedIn or Twitter. It's like if you put a link in the original post, they'll throttle your reach. And so it's like there's like hacks around it. It's like like LinkedIn, for example, you post your post and then you wait like 2 minutes, and then you post in the comment your link to go sign up for your newsletter or whatever. There's like little ways around it, but it's like, who knows what actually, I mean, unless you know the source code, you don't actually know. But yeah, I always look at it Instagram first and then kind of go.
Yeah. So from something you said about the sharing the video when you post on Instagram to Facebook, so I've always wondered that for myself. Like if you allow it, so if you post it on Instagram and you just let it automatically share to Facebook, which one's better, the share, or if you just go in and manually post it to Facebook? Because I've been experimenting that.
I always manually post it just because I don't know. Like sometimes it seems like it'll show like the views like in the Instagram analytics. Yeah. Like Instagram and Facebook views, and the Facebook's never very much. So like I'll just go ahead and like, and the hard part is like if you edit within Instagram, but then what I usually do is like I'll just go take the link, Google whatever IG Reel downloader, and it'll give me the video with the music or whatever without the watermark, and then I can go post to TikTok or Facebook or whatever else. Like I think that works better, but I don't ever like go back. And
that's one thing I've been curious about lately, just because I've been doing both. Because pretty much everything that I post on Instagram will go to my Facebook fan page, saying on my like personal Facebook, and I'm always curious to see which one does better, and I still don't have a clear answer. So
I'm gonna. That's a good question.
Yeah. So I've never never seen really a difference between the two. Like there's some days where one will perform better, but also I mean we do so many collaborator posts where it's like the collaborator post doesn't go.
Well, and then on the monetizing side, for me, because both of my meta stuff gets monetized, I don't think it monetizes more if I singularly post it on Facebook and singularly post it on Instagram. But I feel like the views got lower on Facebook, but I don't get as much money for each post.
So it kind of
like evens out. Yeah.
That is interesting.
So you spoke on the newsletter a little bit. Kind of like, to me, like newsletters, they seem cool, but like I guess a newsletter that you guys personally run is almost like different than what some people might think about. So kind of explain like what your newsletter is and like the benefits of it.
Yeah, for sure. So the Wichita Life update, we have a like news section. So like we don't typically write news. We don't break the news. But like I'll pull from Wichita by EB's blog, the Wichita Eagle, Wichita Business Journal, KMU, Beacon, all these sources. Pick the top 5 or 10 news stories, kind of divvy it up like local business, other local civil news. If it's stuff from the city, we'll have a big events section, sports section. So it's kind of like literally a one-stop shop. You can know what's going on in town this week in 5 minutes. And so we started once a week. We go twice a week, and now we're 3 times a week.
Okay.
Wow.
Monday and Friday is the local news and events. Wednesday is a deep dive into something. So like I wrote one a month or 2 back of like the revitalization of the National. And like what was it through the years? What was it originally? Kind of what was the process to get to where we are right now? So those are fun to write. But right now we're at like 18,000 subscribers. That's and about awesome. Like 9,500, 10,000 people read each of those emails. Man. So it's a really high open rate. But the benefit of that is like I own the audience, right? I have I have your email. I'm sending it directly to your email. I know what you click. I know what you open. So we actually have like some of a relationship. People can comment or like reply, which a lot of people reply to those emails.
Okay.
But the benefit to me is like I would never like eventually I want to do this full time, but I would never quit to just do social media personally. I have 3 kids. My wife doesn't work. Not going to do that. But with an email, it's like it doesn't matter if I get banned over on Instagram or my account gets deleted or I get hacked or something, like my livelihood's not gone, right? So it's like I've got this list of 18,000 people that I can continue to build on that. If this email service provider doesn't work, I can export my list. I still own those emails. I can take it over here. I back up my list fairly often. So if like something happened to that, I still have all those emails I could go put somewhere else. So I think it's a better leg to build a complete business on. But I think everybody should have a newsletter, honestly. I've been my cousin owns a coffee shop in Lawrence. And I keep telling him, like, dude, just start like a weekly email. It's literally just the events going on that week.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that'll grow easily. And then you have free marketing because you own it. So that's what I've been telling him.
What platform do you use for your email list?
I use ConvertKit. Okay. So I originally started with MailChimp just because that was the one everyone talked about. Because I started it 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was June of 2020. It was right during COVID. Okay. And then I've been using that. I've almost switched a couple times. There's a new one called Beehive, which is the original like technical guy from Morning Brew. Kind of quit Morning Brew and went and started it. Okay. So he built everything for Morning Brew, and then he went and started Beehive, which is email service provider. And I think I follow him on Twitter. I think he said they just hit 10 million ARR for the year. So it's like it's blown up fast, and they ship so fast. I'm like, I'm definitely tempted to like try it out, but I mean, there's so many options now. Those are probably the top 2 I would recommend right now. But like HubSpot has their stuff. Yeah. I've never used HubSpot, but I've heard it's really good. But.
So if somebody's looking into like doing the whole email marketing and newsletter stuff like that, what's some like ways you can monetize from it? Because some people might be like, okay, well, HubSpot, this or that's like couple $100 a month, like for the quality, and especially if you're pushing 18,000 emails at once. Like, talk about like the monetization factors of this.
The easiest way is, sponsorships. Yeah. I mean, it's hard but easy. It's like you have to go establish relationships with businesses or brands. But that's an easy way. And I think people are like, oh, you can charge $10 or $20 CPM. I'm like, none of that stuff really matters. Like, and some people charge on like how many subscribers you have versus how many people actually read it. And there's all that to go into it. But really it's like, okay, what are they willing to pay? What value can I bring them? As far as like the other ways, I just started a job board. And so I'm promoting that. So it's like my own thing. So people are posting jobs on that. Then I get paid through it's like self-promo. So it's like I own that product instead of like promoting a different brand.
So, I've been seeing that lately.
So it's been, I haven't really pushed it a ton, but it's pretty awesome because I have it set up so it's like at one price point, you can just post it on the job board. On the next price point, it'll get like highlighted on the job board and I'll put it in my newsletter. So it's like you're kind of getting a double whammy there. But yeah, if I was going to start out, I'd probably start with Beehive because they have I don't even know how much I pay, a couple $100 right now a month. But like Beehive is free up to 2,500 emails, and then it's like $99 up to like 50,000 or something. Dang. So it's like it's pretty cheap.
It's good.
So.
Yeah, that's a good price point for them. At all.
Yeah, I think ultimately the best, I mean, long term is like if you have an email newsletter and then you can promote your own products. So it's like same back to Mr. Beast, like he can just plug Feastables in his videos, right? Yep. Instead of promoting Hershey's chocolate, he's promoting his own stuff. Yeah. So he knows he's going to get a 10-to-1 return on investment. So he might as well promote his own.
Especially for like a coffee shop, something like that, to where it's like, cool. I mean, that's where I've talked to a couple of coffee shop people here where it's like, cool, let's do where we do an email newsletter. They sign up, they get 20% off their drink. Cool, you captured them. Now you just like send out once a week, you send them a 10% coupon, whatever, just to like keep that list going. But even to expand on it more, like I think that idea that you're giving of like just local news or new drink of the week, stuff like that.
Or like the top 5 live music spots in town or something. It's like literally just something that provides a little bit of value, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, it's like you have to be kind of tactical, you would think, because I mean, you do the one wrong step, and the unsubscribe button nowadays is at the top.
Right there.
Like it's not even at the bottom hidden no more. At least from what I've noticed on a couple of the emails or newsletters that I've gotten, like Google will put it right there next to the delete button. Unsubscribes right there.
That,
So, I think that's kind of like a whole different field that people don't really think about.
Right. No, and I think it's super. Like when I first started it wasn't even like. I didn't think of it as its own product initially. I was taking a podcasting course, and it was like the first thing they said was, you need to own an email list. I'm like, oh, I need to own an email list. So I scraped the 500 emails of people that I would just had emailed before. And that was my first one. But I'm like, okay, I don't want to just send my podcast link whenever I have a podcast. I want to like provide value. So then it was like a couple news stories, a couple events, and then it just slowly evolved into like I saw other people doing it well. I'm like, oh, that's what it can look like. That's what I need to. It's its own product. I just need to focus on that, and the podcast can be secondary.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah. No, I never even thought about like, new like email lists. Like that's awesome. Because you like you
it's
said earlier,
stream.
Direct contact to the people.
And I guess to add on that is like SB Mowing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
So Spencer lives here in Wichita.
Yeah.
And so I interviewed him last year sometime, but he just launched a newsletter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so I was asking him back then, I'm like, you should be doing a newsletter. He has 25 million people across Facebook and YouTube and Instagram or whatever.
He's huge.
And so now I saw his email the other day, and he promotes like whatever the recent video was, and then now he has a deal with can't even pronounce it. Some Japanese like lawn company. He uses their equipment, but now he has like a whole affiliate page. He's like, this is the mower I use, this is the weed eater I use, and he gets affiliates when I'm like,
so he gets perfect for him.
Get them. It's like the flywheel of monetization and everything. So.
That's one thing we talked about a little bit was the affiliate marketing route. People don't understand, like, I mean, that's what TikTok is nowadays. Yeah. Like, I swear, you get on TikTok and you go specifically TikTok
Some of it's
Live.
so good too.
Yeah, like the TikTok Live one is so wild. Like, there'll just be some people just standing there with the product, and like one was a phone gimbal that tracks you. And it was this lady just walking back and forth talking about, like, this camera does 360 degrees, and like literally it's just a hyperlink at the bottom to go and purchase it.
And probably right off the TikTok shop or whatever. Like it's all.
Well, and my favorite ones are, I don't even check TikTok that much, but I was looking at it the other day, and it was like this comedy skit one. And so it's these two guys that just do like little SNL type skits. I didn't realize there was an ad till halfway through. It was an ad for G Fuel, but like it seemed just like one of his skits, and I'm like, "What is going on?" Like, oh, this is an ad.
Yeah. Oh, what? I was on YouTube the other night, and there was something like that where it was like such a good ad. Like I remember looking over at Bailey, and I was just like, "Yo, this was a great ad." Like I respect that because like YouTube ads, like sometimes they're just like annoying out of the blue, like War Thunder, and it's like, no, but this one, like, it played so well, and it was just so seamless. I was like, I can respect that. Like when stuff like that, like,
for sure,
it's really cool.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to ask you about is like the other pages similar to yours here in town. Like, do you see it as like competition, or are you connected with these pages and know them personally, or like how does that go?
I know a lot of them. There's definitely some that have popped up that I don't know. Early on, I think I saw it as competition, and not even like in a bad way. Cause like, I just didn't know the people, and it was like in my head it was a benchmark. So like whatever, there weren't that many over 10,000 when I started, right? And so I was like, oh, this one's at like there's one called I don't even think it's active anymore, but like IG Wichita or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. But there was like a lot of really, really good photography people on there. And it's like, they are just literally doing it to highlight photographers. And so it was like, we would share a lot of the same photos and stuff. But I was always like, okay, I got to pass them. And then I'm going to go past this person who's at 11,000 just to try to be the biggest. And like, I barely even look at my account anymore because like the number of followers, I'm like, I don't really care that much. Like, cool, we hit 40,000, but like, well, it's whatever. Like, I view it much more as like, okay, now it's like, okay, how can I help other people? So like in the deep dives that I do for the email, it's like, I've been highlighting the other foodies and stuff. And like, I need to like, it's basically just laziness, but like post them then on social. It's like, how can we build up everybody? Because then it just helps up build the businesses and just helps Wichita be better as a whole.
Yeah.
So.
That's one thing.
I like that. Yeah.
Like having those multiple ones, because at the end of the day, it's like the competition's good. I mean, I'm someone that loves driving off of competition, but also at the end of the day, the market is so open.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you guys, I mean, there could be 100 people just like yourself here in small Wichita. And yeah, it might feel overcrowded, like it's an information overload, but everyone would still be able to rise up.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
no, and I think being in a place like Wichita, I mean, we've talked about this before, is just, and that's one of the reasons we started this podcast. It's just like helping people, helping the businesses, the pages, giving people the information that they might not know, and then us, like me learning, Jacob learning the information. So just really helping people in this community, because it's a community, I mean, all of us live in. So why not help and uplift everybody in here?
Exactly.
100%.
Yeah, that's like, the whole joy of this podcast.
Yeah.
Every time.
I love it. Well, thank you guys for having me on. This is awesome.
Yeah, no problem. Real quick, before we end this, we didn't really talk about them, but you've been seeing them. Buffalo Brew, shout out them. They were our first sponsor here at the Commerce Club. They are located here at the National. So if you're in the area, feel free to come check out Buffalo Brew. They also do have locations all around the metro area.
And they're amazing.
So Landon,
we go there. We go to Buffalo Brew all the time. Just kidding.
So Landon, where can everyone find you?
Just look us up, Wichita Life or Wichita Life ICT on social media. If you go to wichitalifeict.com, you can sign up for the newsletter and check out some events.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Hannah, where can they find you?
Got handles on everything. So, and then anywhere on the Commerce Connects, Commerce Club, the National, we're always, on there too. What about you, Jacob?
Oh, well, yeah. So Commerce Connects, the National Wichita, Commerce Club Wichita, and jclark.jpg. So, yeah, we will catch y'all. Thank you again, Landon, for coming on.
Landon.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.